She shook her fist, then opened hands in praise. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a sermon from Trinity Place in Geneva, New York, and that's based on the readings for the 20th week after Pentecost. She shook her fist and then opened her hands in praise as a lament. That's a lament. It's a lament psalm. A lament psalm begins with bewailing the situation, shaking a fist at the universe, and then ending with praise. Listen to this familiar nod to Good Friday. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me, from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. By the time that Psalm 22 travels down to verses 28 and 29, those were the beginning verses I just read, the psalmist is saying this: people everywhere will remember and will return to the Lord. All the families of the nations will worship him because the Lord is king and he rules the nations. Begins with a fist and ends with praise. So this is how I imagine an altered ending of Mark's story from today would be. And after Jesus finished speaking about the rich young man and how none of us can squeeze through the eye of a needle, Peter walked to the shore, raised his muscular arm, clenching his fist, and praised God fiercely. We sure did pick a weird religion. And I love it, though, because it's just as weird as life itself. You know, I don't even know where to begin talking about this story from Mark in the context of our affluence. I shuffled through some old sermons this week and felt truly embarrassed that I had preached on these Jesus sayings with a straight face. Let's face it, there is not one of us whose life is thin enough to get through the eye of a needle. That just ain't happening. And by the way, if you're sitting there thinking, well, my life is thin enough, that's proof that it ain't. Even the poorest among us is fabulously affluent compared to the desperate poverty that Jesus was living in among the pus and scab-infested crowds that hung on his every word. They would have roared their approval when hearing about the rich young man turned away to face his own arrogance. I've thought this week of those thousands of Haitians living under the bridge at our border who we forcibly swept up and flew back to Haiti. They weren't coming here to get rich. They were coming here to breathe. They were coming here to eat, to find shelter from the storm, a hovel that wouldn't collapse in an earthquake. They weren't coming here to get rich. They were coming here because even the dogs deserve to eat the children's scraps from under the table. Remember that gospel a few weeks ago? It was people like those Haitians who heard Jesus tell the story about the rich young man and who cheered, roared their approval. Well, what are we to make of this? What is it about this guy Jesus that we're supposed to embrace? This is where we raise our fist and lament. We lament the utter raw pain of the world. We lament the blasphemous inequality all around us. We lament the racist, sexist, classist, bigoted cysts that are growing around our own hearts and that we can see and hear are leaking out everywhere. This is where we raise our fist and lament that we cannot seem to stop it, that we cannot seem to stop ourselves. We raise our fist and lament that there is so much awful in the world, and our fingerprints are found all over the awfulness. And then we take a breath and we get quiet within ourselves. And then we remember a tree we love. We remember the slick green leaves and the feel of the rough and the gorgeous bark. And we remember trees and the solid, deep abundance of life that trees surround us with. And we give thanks. And then we remember an awkward encounter when we were the rich young man and our life intersected with someone who wasn't, and somehow we touched each other and it softened both of us, and we gave thanks. And then we remember the baby blue sky of autumn, and the softening colors and shades of October. And we hear Louis Armstrong singing in our heads, and we sing with him, "It's a wonderful world, oh yeah." And then we remember a time when we were sure we would never recover from grief or breakup, from pain or alienation, from sorrow or rage, and how now it's a memory that lives over the hills and dales of the past. In other words, at the very moment that we shake our fist and spit in the wind in the eye of God, somewhere inside there is another reflex, another one that urges us to unclench our fist and praise. We may not feel it in the moment, and it may be buried deep inside some of us, deeper inside some of us than others, but that also is there. Also, not denial, but also is present, is in the presence of the lament. Also, it says yes. It's an also that says thank you. Sometimes it's only a whisper next to loud expletives of rage, but it's there. Go find it. Seriously, go find it. Here's the deal. There is no reconciling this Jesus story with our lives. Neither the rich young man nor us can squeeze through the eye of a needle. To try to make this story smooth and sweet is to do it violence. We live in a both-and world, in a both-and life, and a both-and story. The only authentic response to the both-and life that we're living is a clenched fist and open hands and praise. A clenched fist and also praise. That is the deep and the profound wisdom of a lament, and the deep and profound wisdom of Scripture. Peace be with you.